when I first started at Twickenham Studios, there's a 36 input Neve desk. That was massive. It was huge. I mean, it was wonderful. You go in and it's sort of the flagship console. Everybody wanted to get a Neve console, and there it was. And everything's recorded on tape, 35mm tape. So everything you recorded on was 3-track 35mm or occasionally 4-track tape. So you would do all your pre-mixing. So you'd get, somebody would come in with 30 tracks of sound effects of gunshots, explosions, birds tweeting, doors closing, all that kind of stuff. And so each fader's, you listen to the door close, right, lovely, I'll add some bass to it, bit of reverb, lovely, and I'll record that now onto the 3 or 4 tracks of the 35mm tape. Just as I started, Dolby A came along, Dolby A noise reduction. Wow, I mean, this was groundbreaking. You don't have, or reducing tape hiss. So this whole thing, run a piece of tape through, and it goes, tss, Dolby A reduce it, marvellous. So now you've got all these, you might have 20 tracks of sound effects, and you now can mix them, EQ, pan, level, compress, or whatever you want to do. You record it now onto the premix and make it loud enough or quiet enough in relation to what you're seeing on the screen. Lovely, so that's all the sound effects. Now you do the same with the Foley. All the Foley, you add reverb and levels and all that kind of stuff. You've now got a Foley premix across, I don't know, maybe 6, 7 tracks. You've got the main actor walking, you've got the second actor walking, you've got the keys jangling on a 3rd track and all the spot effects, and so you've got to have the separation. So you're recording, going backwards and forwards, you run backwards and forwards and punch in to record. This is the whole thing you punch in to record onto the magnetic tape. You've now got various premixes with dialogue and Foley and sound effects on. So when you come to the final mix, you've got all your, hopefully your faders all at 0 or more or less at 0. And then you're now going to shape those levels of the dialogue, music and sound effects and Foley all against one another. You're now, 36 tracks is more than enough, because most we were dealing in Dolby stereo. It might have been 4-track, left, centre, right, and 1 mono surround. It then moved on to Dolby 5.1, but that was a few years later. So now you've got 36 tracks on the console. You've probably got 12 faders to do with the sound effects and Foley. You've probably got about 8 pre-mixed tracks of dialogue that have been EQ'd and compressed and leveled, all that kind of stuff, and then in comes the music on another 6 tracks. So you've probably got 30 faders taken up on the console. And then now you're going backwards and forwards manually. There's no automation. There's no moving fader stuff. So you are going backwards and forwards, and you've got to make sure all your levels are correct. So when you punch into record and go into record on the 35, your levels have to match from before, because at the point where you've stopped, to go back, because you're going to have to make a change when you go forward again, you've got to drop in, and all your faders have got to be in the right position where they were before, because you were moving them up and down. You've got to go, oh, I think when we stopped, I was kind of about there. Okay, you've now got 10 faders on the effects that when you now drop back into record again, sometimes you'll hear a mismatch of the levels. It'll go up or it'll go down. You go, oh, shit. I've got to go back and get the levels. Oh, God, that door closes too loud at that point when I've dropped in. I've got to hold that chicken cluck was, oh, God. So there was a lot of painstaking, laborious stuff. But what you would always do is you would often work in long chunks. So when you're mixing, you'd say, okay, we've gone from the exterior to the interior. Okay, this interior scene's 40 seconds long. We've got 2 or 3 things. We've got a clock chiming. We've got the sound of a dog bark in the distance, fine. And you'd be able to mix in much longer chunks. You'd get a run at something, and you might actually mix 15 seconds in one go. Lovely. And we've now committed that to tape, to 35mm tape. You've recorded it. Great. The downside to the technology now, there's massive perks, massive pluses. But the problem now is, because everything can be literally broken up into a millisecond or less than a millisecond, we now get people analysing every... Oh, hold on, everybody. I've got one frame here that needs... What, a frame? Well, I need to put a plug-in, I need a de-esser, I need a compressor, I need an expander, I need a limiter and a gate, I need 14 plugins on... Really? Now, in our day, because we didn't have it, you'd say, ah, yes, had you have had it 40 years ago, you would have used it. I'd contend that a lot of stuff that we're doing now, no, you wouldn't. You just go, that's nonsense. Oh, people, and they talk about their dialogue chain. What have you got in your dialogue chain? Well, I've got, 18 expanders, gates, de-essers, I've got 9 plugins. have you actually just listened to the dialogue on its own? Oh, no, I've got background suppressors. I've got everything on it. Right, okay. Does it need it? And then the dialogue sounds mangled and it sounds as though the life's been so, oh, well, I've cleaned it up. All the background traffic's gone. Yeah, the background traffic is gone. The wind has gone. The rain has gone. But now you've got this voice that sounds like a Martian. Oh, yeah, but it's clean. It's clean, but it's got no life in it. Oh, well, I've EQ'd these frequencies and I've taken, half a dB out at 2 kilohertz. Really? Fine. So the technology allows you to do anything you like. I would easily contend that 75% of what's going on in forms of processing, complete waste of time. The fact that you can go down to a sample or a millisecond you can. Does it need this analysis? No. And you're losing a flow because now you don't run when you run forwards on a sequence, you're not having to be aware, years ago, you'd be mixing live effectively. The fade, you'd literally be moving the faders up and down at this point with the dialogue and the music and go, oh, and it was an organic thing because you were aware that, oh, your effect's just a little bit loud against that line of dialogue and I've got to get it down and then up but now the music come down a bit lower than I thought, so I can go up a bit with the effects. And it was more of a dance. And you were having to listen to what was going on around you. Now you can be the effects mixer and go, yeah, okay, the dialogue guy's done his dialogue and he's done the music and everything else. I'm now going to shape my effects around it and he can walk away. The two of you don't need to be in the same room. You are, but you know that you can stop and start and just sort of micromanage all the audio. And I'd easily contend. I said to somebody asked me a question about what do I do with the dialogue chain when I do the dialogue and the music and the Foley mix and all that kind of stuff. I said, well, nothing really. I just get the dialogue and shove it through. A high and low pass filter? I said, yeah. I said, I'm forever moved my high and low pass filter around. The last few films I've used the Fab filter. And before I used to, various shelves and curves to the high and low pass, and where do you put it? 80 cycles, 70 cycles, 60 cycles, is it 9K, 10K? Yeah, fine, that's all open to debate. The last couple of films I've done is I've actually put literally a brick wall. I mean, a couple of people were saying, what? Didn't there a slope? No, I said, again, I'm not right. You're not wrong. It's just how I kind of said it. That's what I want to do. Oh, okay, fine. They said, all right. And some of them were looking absolutely incredulous. I mean, some of them were stunned at this point. And I said, but again, it's all open to interpretation. There is no, my way isn't right. I said, well, I put this brick wall, I know, I said, 10K and 60 cycles or something like that. I can't remember what I said. I said, all right, so what are you using for background noise suppression? I said, I don't use it. Well, they said, but hold on, whoa. No, but when there's the traffic on the, I said, no, I don't use it. I said, no, really? And I said, and they said, oh, but Taken 3, which was a noisy production track. And I said, yeah, there's not one line in that film that I've used any form of background noise suppression. No, but at one point, I think I may have misquoted them, but they said, but you must have done. I said, no, literally, well, didn't you use something like cedar or didn't you use... I said, no, yeah, because the track, sometimes it is bumpy and noisy and a bit... But I want to retain the original quality of the voice, and because there's so much in the way of music over the film and gunshots and explosions, nobody's going to go, oh, I think I had a little bit of background traffic in that, or there was a little bit of camera noise. No, it's masked by all this other stuff. And I want to retain, and again, there's no right or wrong, I want to retain the original integrity of the quality of the dialogues recorded on location. Yes, with radio mics, because they're under clothes and often the radio mic is up against the chest, you get like a chest resonance that you sort of get this sort of effect. And it's always around 130 cycles, 125, 130, which I'll notch out. I'll take probably about 6-8 dB out, but a really narrow notch just to get rid of this chest resonance that makes it sound a bit artificial. And you sometimes have to add a bit of treble because it's under clothes and what have you. But in terms of the actual boom dialogue, 99.8% of the time, it will be utterly unaffected. That's a personal choice. Now, if you have a movie that's not hiding behind explosions, gunshots, spaceships, and huge amount of music. If it's just dialogue, now you've really got to work hard at it, because the key to dialogue mixing is stating the bleeding obvious. You, the audience, have got to hear every line, but there is going to be at times a disparity between the line that's just been recorded on me, and then an hour later you recorded your reverse line that's in a different location. There's a wind machine on your line, but there wasn't on mine. There was wind blowing, there was rain on mine, but there wasn't on yours. So now you've got two dialogue lines that hit one another with completely different backgrounds and sometimes different quality. They couldn't get the boom on my line as close as they'd hoped, but they got the boom closer on yours. So how do you now make, and what you're looking for is the consistency. How do you make it consistent? So you go between lines, they've got the same level, so you're not going to go, well, hang on, I've heard his line, but I didn't hear his particularly well. Or my line's got loads of treble in it, it's bright, but no bass, and we cut to your line that's got no treble, got loads of bass. So that's what you're constantly trying to do, is make it consistent. But in turning up the treble on my line, because my line is dull, it brings up further the background, rain, wind, whatever. We cut back to your line that needs treble taking out, and now we've got massive background changes. So the key to it, and I won't bore you with the details because people go in different ways, it's masking as much as possible those changes. So you, the audience, go, well, hang on, something's just gone weird there. And that's the tricky bit. A lot of people overcome that now by using every plugin known to man and beast. And yes, it is neutralized and there is no background, but it just sounds to me, I don't know, like a robot. There's no life in it because they've got this chain of EQ and gates and expanders and limiters and then it's a massive problem. But again, that's only how I interpret it. There's no empirical way of going at it.